Which do you prefer, Swiss Army knives or Leathermans? Hi, Mike here. Two knives, Swiss Army knife, Leatherman Wave Plus Black. Someone kind of upset at me for saying this tool I like much better than this tool. This is my everyday carry. One of the things it has that Leathermans don't usually have unless they get a lot bigger, or they do make some actual multi-tools, more like these plier types, but you never see them anywhere. It's like if I wanted to look at one in person, I don't even know where in Maine I could find one even. But so, to me, having the pliers for what I tend to do is a big deal. When I was working, we'd have these printers and a piece of paper would jam in it, and you could pull it out with this too. So now this I've got a Kydex sheath for that's on my belt, so I can pull it out easy, one-handed opening. I had these thumb screws that I put in, and I could take this one out, but I haven't. But because you can't tell when you pick it up which side is which. Normally, I'm going for the straight blade, not the serrated blade. So one way to differentiate that would have been to left it out of this side. Then you could just feel picking it up which blade you kept. So this, you can see, I can deploy it with one hand, and I can close it with one hand, although, I've got arthritis now, so it's a little bit difficult. Here, of course, you have to, it's basically a two-handed operation. And there you have the blade. There's all kinds of nice, cool tools in this. But again, for what I tend to do, I want something a little more rugged. This is the size, to me, once you get to this 4 or 5 layers, these can't just rattle around in your pocket. The thinner ones, yeah, but once you've got it this big, it really needs to be, at least for me, we need to be on a case. And I could get a case for this very easily. This one I actually picked up at a yard sale for practically nothing because the scales were broken off. They were, falling off, a piece was missing. So when I got it, I wanted to be able to have a pen, carry a pen with me. So I got the plus scales. So I actually took off the broken scales and put these new ones on. And besides getting the toothpick and the tweezers, here's the old tweezers right here. I don't know how useful these are. I haven't heard anyone talk about using these, how well they work. But, and the toothpick, it seems like people do anything with this but use it for toothpick. But with the plus scales, you have another slot here, and you can put in the pen. And this is really convenient. There's even a trick of how to use it. If you don't want to use it like this, you can take on the back side, you can take this hook, put it down in the slot, and whoops, and wait a second, we got to keep it the way I was doing it there. Then you can use it as a pen. So that's a big advantage. But again, I just don't find this, the ease of use is less. And technically, can I do more things with this than this? I guess, I don't have a trouble with needing a corkscrew. I used it to store a little screwdriver. And there's all kinds of other things you can get to put in here. You can put a ferro rod and a few other things that are made that you could put in this. What else have we got? We've got this. What's really nice on these compared to the Leathermans is the scissors. If I was going to do a lot of fine cutting of something thin like paper, this would be the place I would go. But you see this spring. If this spring goes to one side, and you close it, you close it back, you're going to break the spring. So you got the spring is, it's replaceable, but you've got to send away for the parts. But I guess what I'm saying is you still have to be pretty careful with this. The scissors on the Leatherman are more robust, but what can I say? They just aren't that sharp. They're stubby, they're thick, and they just don't cut as neatly, but they are more rugged. And two, I would see this as more of a more occasional use, and this, like I say, EDC, everyday carry. But, if you're comfortable with something this size in your pocket, or you have a belt sheath, then all of a sudden, and winter, it could be in a coat or something, or something like that, so it isn't flopping around in your pants pockets. Then you do, it becomes much more functional. And this model here too, this is a model that isn't made, but it has these different tools in it. It has a saw, which is really nice to have the idea of having a saw. You've got the small blade. You've got a decent 2-position Phillips screwdriver, which is nice. Well, whenever they attach something like this to either of these, there's an awful lot of situations where this is too short, or this bumps into things, and the same with this. So, like I say, when I bought this is a great tool, wonderful tool. Nothing against it, but for my use and for everyday needing to, maybe beat on it a little bit, this tool to me is what I would carry every day. Like now, especially with arthritis, I use this a lot. I use this when I'm opening packages, something with food that sometimes these rip things, you're supposed to be able to rip. Well, my hands don't do it. And I find too, I use this can opener type thing, bottle opener type thing for a lot of different purposes. You can use this to open packages. It doesn't go down real deep. And I found too, you have jars that you need to get open, and this, a lot of times this isn't going to fit. But what I do is you go in the lid, up in the lid, and you just pry it a little. And once you break the vacuum seal, you can open it up. Now, if that destroys the idea of using that bottle again, or jar, if you're planning to do something with the jar after you, end up eating what's in it, and want it to still be airtight. You don't want to break, you don't want to dent the cap so that it doesn't seal correctly. But, and this is like now they've come out with a new version of it, which of course I won't be able to afford. But, this is the most popular plier multi-tool ever, because it's general enough so that you can kind of use it for everything. Now they have other versions that are bigger and more specialized. They have ones with tools for guns and different things, which I don't need, and for rifles and things like that. But this has a good selection of tools, and you look at this and you say, well, what could I improve in this? Well, I think the scissors could be improved. That would be one of my main things I would mention about this. I like the idea of, although I must admit, I don't cut much wire with this, but I like the idea that you can change these out. If you were to, damage them, you can get new ones. And I don't know if you can see this well with the black. You can see areas where it's worn off. This black coating, it's hard to black coat stainless steel, which this is. And you can see there maybe with the reflection there, you can see it. It rubs the coating off. Now, if this was high carbon steel, you could use a common product that they use for bluing. They call it bluing, for guns and things. and you could use it on this and it would work if it was high carbon steel, which it isn't, so you can't use it. And, they say, well, oil it once in a while and things like that. Well, even your hands eventually are going to remove that coating. So I guess if having one that looks perfect is important to you, which it isn't to me, that would be a concern. But of course, this is all silver. I guess the idea of this is, that the military you don't want to take out a knife and all of a sudden get a huge reflection from that knife. Now, you've still got one tool. Of course, they can't coat a file, but again, that's so rough. I don't think that would tend to catch the light and bounce it back as much as, just a plain blade. But, I'm not doing anything tactical. I'm not usually out at night. And at night, this thing would get lost pretty quick, I think. So there you go. That's my point of view. The Leatherman Wave and the Swiss Army knife, really, really nice knives, both of them wonderful. But this, to me, is just what I'm going to carry because of what it does and the ease of use that it has. Tell me what you think. Bye.